Did Bitcoin get 20% better in the last month? Did its hash power improve by 20%? Did it get 20% better at solving algorithms? I mean, did something change in Bitcoin by 20% in the last 4 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
No. The money got worse. The money got worse.
So,
and that's going to keep happening because the balance sheet expansion of global central banks is going to continue. This is like the beatings will continue until morale improves.
Renowned investor and founder of Morgan Creek Capital Management, Mark Yusko, expressed his concerns regarding the banking sector's instability and its potential impact on the assets, which has been fueled by a series of bank crises. He also highlighted the fact that many banks are not well capitalized, which could worsen any potential crisis. Yusko believes that the government is aware of these risks but has chosen to allow them to occur in pursuit of its policy objectives. According to Yusko, the government is willing to tolerate the banking crisis because it believes that the benefits of quantitative easing outweigh the costs. As Mark Yusko pointed out, that banking system is confidence gain, which means that the stability and success of the banking system depend on maintaining the trust and confidence of customers and the public. In his last interview, Yusko said, "This is really just a crisis of confidence. So for people with money in local banks, the big local banks we all know and love, like Bank of America and Truist and Wells Fargo, they're in great shape." Before proceeding further in this video, please make sure to click on the subscribe button below to stay updated with our latest content.
So I don't think there's more stress in the system. What there is, and you know, and everybody who listened last week knows how I feel about this. Banks are, by definition, right? By definition, confidence games. And when there's systematic weakening of confidence, and what to me is different is not the stress in the banking system. Well, okay. It is the stress in the banking system, but a different type of stress. It's a stress caused, I believe, by the virality of social interaction between members of the community. What I mean by that is every bank is a community. We're all community members. And literally like that scene in It's a Wonderful Life where we all live, and it used to be you lived in the town and everybody in the town was the community bank community. Well, now it's this global phenomenon. Like, our former president had a big account at Deutsche Bank and, got all kinds of stuff from them. And we got lots of people that are, customers of Credit Suisse because they're trying to hide money in Switzerland. And you got, plenty of people from Saudi Arabia who are customers of, banks in the United States. And you got Chinese private equity firms that are customers of Silicon Valley Bank. So it's a global community. But man, the fragility caused by irresponsible, reckless, ill-intentioned, I believe, in many cases, venture capitalists and others who set off these bank runs. And I can only come to one conclusion with some of the evidence that I've looked at, that it was intentional. That's a big accusation, but I'm not fingered anybody in particular, but I can't look at the data that I have seen and come up with any other explanation than it was intentional. Either you're short the security, again, big accusation.
According to Yusko, the Federal Reserve has already started pivoting in response to potential bank turmoil by implementing a long-standing policy of low interest rates and easy monetary conditions to support the banking system. Yusko asserts that banks such as JP Morgan engaged in irresponsible practices that contributed to the financial crisis and were bailed out at taxpayers' expense. The trilemma may worsen if lending standards tighten, financial companies' vulnerabilities increase, and inflation persists. The Federal Reserve has introduced a new bank term funding program to assist banks and credit unions in ensuring sufficient funds to cover deposits and prevent bank runs. While criticizing government in his recent tweet, Yusko said, "Rule of law? We don't need no stinking rule of law. We are the government and we are here to help."
A couple things. One, markets were not as global and interconnected. I mean, there was global trade, but that was a period, of kind of less global interconnectedness in the financial system. And you didn't also have the speed of transmission, across borders. And you probably didn't have the interconnectedness of the central banking systems. I mean, and not probably you didn't. Like I read this week that the Fed is now guaranteeing credit at other central banks. It's insane.
So, okay.
But my point is that I don't think it's changed. I think the banking system, this fractional reserve system, hasn't changed. And we've had runs on the bank before, and it does survive. But what happens is you get a reshuffling of where the assets go.
Yeah.
And the small banks, the less well capitalized banks, fail. And it creates this upward momentum and this concentration of assets in the few and the mighty. And just like in the global financial crisis 1, we had a major global bank run, and a whole bunch of banks failed, and a whole bunch of banks merged into each other, but the same ones at the top stayed the top. But in the 20s, we talked about millions. JP Morgan bailed out the banking system in 1907 for $25 million. Okay. In the 70s, we talked about billions. The famous quote from the senator, billion here, billion there. Pretty soon you're talking about real money. Now we talk about trillions. It is nonsensical to think that you can print money, buy an asset, particularly now you're buying an asset for 100 cents that's worth 80. Now it will be eventually worth 100, but who's going to honor that 100? Because the budget doesn't balance. This is the lunacy of all of it. At current interest rates, the amount of money going to service the debt starts to erode your ability to ever retire the debt. And it's like, look, 40% of the S&P 1500, 40%. Okay, that's a big ass number. Can't service their debt with their current EBITDA. Forget paying that debt back. They could never pay it back. They can't even pay the interest.
Mark Yusko is among the experts who consider China as an emerging superpower with a significant impact on the global economy and technological advancement. Yusko attributes China's influential position to its fast-paced economic growth and technological advancements. He and other experts view China's ascent as a defining trend of the 21st century that will have far-reaching implications on the global political and economic landscape in the coming years.
And what Gartman said is China can never be a superpower. They have one aircraft carrier, and they don't even know how to land planes on it. A plane crashed into the side of it. I'm like, we've probably had planes crash in the side of our aircraft carriers, I bet. They're not all Top Gun, Maverick. But so he said, there's no way. And my view, and I still believe this, is nope. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, probably even 20 years ago, China figured out the next war is not a kinetic war. It's not fought with ships. It's fought with chips. And everything in the last 20 years has been about getting superiority in cyber and power around computing. And that's why China leads in AI. It's why they lead in 5G. It's why they actually lead in CBDC. It's why they lead in surveillance, why you have to have your little code to go into the the grocery store. They have the, caged cities, none of which I want. Freaking dystopia, right? I mean, we have an office in Shanghai. I haven't been to China in 3 years, and we're talking about doing our annual meeting there in the fall. And I'm not sure I want to go. I mean, I do think there's incredible investment opportunity there, but but anyway, so here's my point on that. We are behind. Fact, we are behind in those areas of chip superiority. And we're trying to catch up because we don't want to lose this war, this cyber.
In his recent tweet, Yusko advised that calm is the hashtag edge we are all going to need to focus on today as global financial crisis 2 continues to worsen. That's all about today analysis. What do you think of Mark Yusko's views regarding banking turmoil and ongoing global financial crisis 2? Do you agree with his outlook and why? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. If you found this information helpful, please consider giving this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We look forward to bringing you more updates in the future.